Go back into the building and wait for me just inside the door." "But that's my cab. I was just on my way." The woman interrupted. "Didn't they tell you I would come for you? It's time." Her eyes betrayed a small glint of amusement as she watched Janet's face. Janet sensed a sudden weakness in her arms and legs. They felt heavy, but somehow empty, as though there were no bones. "All right," she said. She stepped back in and watched through the glass door as the new woman walked up to the driver, said something to him, gave him some money, and stepped back to watch him wheel out and drive away. She turned and walked across the driveway and through the door, then kept going past Janet without looking at her. After 5 paces, she stopped, turned, and said, "This is it. If you're coming, come now." Janet nodded and took a step. She could not help wondering if this single step was one of those enormous ones, like a step off the railing of a ship. But then she reminded herself that this wasn't like that at all. She had taken that step months ago, on the night when she had decided to make the telephone call. She had been busy preparing for this day for a long time, first quietly moving out of the condominium into the small apartment where everything was unlisted and nobody but the police knew she lived there, then enduring the makeover. This was only the next step, not the first. She followed the tall, dark woman down the hallway and out the front door, then to a small green car that looked a lot like the one that Janet had owned until... No, she didn't want to follow her memory backward. This was a new beginning. Janet got into the passenger seat and closed the door just as it began to move. The woman accelerated away from the curb and into traffic, then moved quickly into the next lane, then turned again, and headed east. She was not exactly a reckless driver, but she was aggressive and sure, and those were qualities that made Janet uneasy. Janet said, "I didn't think you would come for me here." "That's why I did," said the dark woman. Then she seemed to change, as though she had thought about it and decided that there was no practical reason not to be friendly. "Everyone who's been wondering if you might try to disappear assumes that you'll do it in certain ways. What they're waiting for is to see you some night slinking out of your condo carrying a suitcase. Nobody disappears from a doctor's office." She glanced at Janet. "How'd it go, by the way?" Janet shrugged. "He says I'm doing great. I'm not supposed to see him again for 6 months. He did a wonderful job on you. Big improvement." "Thank you," she said mechanically. It was a shock that this woman, who seemed so strange, would say something as normal and human as an empty compliment. "How do you know? We've never met before." "I've seen lots of pictures of you." She made another turn. "What have other people said? Has anyone who knew you before the surgery seen you since?" Janet shook her head. "I'm a little low on the invitation list lately, and I didn't go out at all while my face still made people stare. The doctors and nurses are the only ones. And cab drivers." The woman swung into a covered parking ramp, went up 2 levels, then stopped in an empty space and turned off the engine. "Why are we stopping?" "I need to give you some things." She reached into her purse and produced a ticket in an airline envelope. "Your flight leaves in 2 hours." "Where am I going?" She pulled aside the corner of the envelope and read the ticket. "Chicago." "You'll be there for a while, but it's just a stop on the way. It'll keep you out of sight until your plastic surgery is completely healed. You should show up at your final destination looking like a finished product. Face, body, hair, wardrobe, credentials." She handed Janet a small wallet that was stiff with cards. "Here's your ID." Janet looked at the MasterCard on top. "Mary Anders. Is that going to be my name?" "Just for this trip. You'll need to flash identification to get on the plane. If something goes wrong or you're stalled, you can't even get a room without a credit card. Use those." Janet looked at the driver's license. The picture was the one she'd taken.